The Project at Eden's Gate is a doomsday cult, an armed terrorist paramilitary group. Led by Joseph Seed and his siblings during the events of Inside Eden, S-Gate, and Far Cry 5, locals refer to members of the cult as Peggies, which stands for Project at Eden's Gate. They are highly militaristic with a large arsenal of weaponry to oppress non-believers. However, unlike the past enemy factions of the Far Cry series, they are not as well-armed or well-trained in formal military training as the traditional paramilitary groups like the Privateers, Royal Army, or Mercenaries. Despite their lack of military-grade weapons, they are the first enemy to own attack aircraft. However, their aircraft are either modified World War II warfighters or agricultural planes outfitted with machine gun hardpoints. They are also known to utilize scorched earth tactics as well as terror demoralization strategies, destroying farms and other potential supplies of the resistance, taking hostages, as well as desecrating the cemeteries and graves belonging to the community. Joseph's siblings all seem to utilize some form of mind control to mentally subvert them. Faith uses a drug called Bliss to brainwash prisoners and people who resist the cult she calls angels, while Jacob uses mind control music to activate sleeper agents. In the prequel, John pours a neon blue liquid that may or may not be bliss into the river used to baptize new converts to the cult. And Faith adds the same liquid into the tea she gives Sarah. The cult was ultimately right, as the world was ravaged by nuclear fire in the end. While the project was ultimately wiped out, it would be succeeded by Joseph Seed's new cult, New Eden. The Project at Eden's Gate was a religious apocalyptic cult existing in the Far Cry 5 universe. They were founded by Joseph Seed in Rome, Georgia, who heard the voice telling him to create a congregation of believers to survive the coming apocalypse. He recruited his younger brother Jacob, and together they fled to Hope County after being accused of murdering someone. Settling in the region because of its name and natural defensibility, they built up the congregation, now numbering in the hundreds and constantly being watched by the police and the FBI. By the time they arrived in Hope County, they were numbering in the hundreds. After arriving, John was able to use his fortune in acquiring land for the project and his legal skills in defending the project. In the time since, more people joined the project due to its moral code and support system, Faith being one of them. By the events of Far Cry 5, Joseph had declared the apocalypse imminent, and the project has moved towards seizing land and forcibly recruiting people to reach its goals. The Project at Eden's Gate are a heavily militaristic doomsday cult existing in the Far Cry 5 universe. They are considered to be the main antagonist faction of the game and are led by the charismatic Joseph Seed, a self-proclaimed prophet who genuinely believes that he is bringing about the apocalypse and saving humanity. He is assisted by his 3 siblings, all of whom have a sort of mind control ability which they use to bend the will of the project's followers. They are easily recognizable with their trademark white robes and red neckerchiefs. While their combat abilities and training are inferior compared to the previous antagonists of the Far Cry series, they more than make up for this in sheer numbers. Even more, when it comes to their base of operations in Hope County, Montana, they control almost the entirety of the map, fortified with multiple heavily guarded outposts. When it comes to combat, they prefer hit-and-run tactics, utilizing speed and their numbers to harass the player. And when that doesn't work, they will fall back on brute force and superior firepower. They also tend to use scorched earth tactics whenever they retreat, destroying buildings and equipment to deny the player resources and prevent him from rallying the locals against them. Because of their connection to the community and how ingrained they are in Hope County, they can pose a serious threat if the player isn't careful. But like any good enemy, they are ultimately killable and should not be underestimated. The Seed family, or the Heralds, are a family living in Hope County and leaders of the cult project at Eden's Gate. A family of Hope County and leaders of the cult project at Eden's Gate, Joseph Seed is the patriarch of the family, which he also calls the Heralds. All the siblings have bunkers, which must be destroyed directly after killing them, according to the Book of Joseph. The Seed siblings came from a broken household with an alcoholic and highly religious father, whom the public referred to as Old Man Seed. They lived in a poor neighborhood in Rome, Georgia. After discovering what Joseph and Jacob were being taught in public schooling, he would later pull Joseph and Jacob out in the middle of a class, all while going on a loud, angry tirade about religion. Their mother did little to act, seemingly turning a deaf ear to what was happening, apparently having been crushed by her marriage to her husband. After teachers discovered that John had been beaten, the Seed siblings were placed into social services. Old Man Seed would later die in a federal prison in Atlanta towards the end of his sentence, having apparently fallen downstairs, while their mother would never be seen again. The Seed siblings would be sent to an orphanage first, and then to foster parents in a small town not far from Rome, where they would be beaten, forced to work in the fields, care for themselves, and live in a barn. One night, Jacob set fire to the farm and knocked out their adoptive father with an axe handle. Afterward, the Seeds would be diagnosed by psychiatrists as dangerous and who needed to be separated. Jacob was placed in a juvenile detention center. John was adopted by the Duncan family, and Joseph was left alone at the orphanage, passing through several foster families throughout his adolescence. Later on, Joseph would reunite with his siblings and begin the project at Eden's Gate. The Church of Eden's Gate is a church in Joseph's compound where Joseph often gave sermons. Bible passages are written on the windows, which can only be read from the outside. Joseph's compound is a location on the island that constitutes Joseph's region in Hope County in Far Cry 5. The whole compound is surrounded with high barbed-wired fences, with only a few weak spots allowing you in or out. Eden's altar is a place of worship used by the project at Eden's Gate cult in the Henbane River region of Hope County in Far Cry 5. There is a cult shrine on the central dais and a small table with a cult note that indicates it is a place where newly created angels are instructed by cult priestesses. There is a zip line that runs from the cliff to a spot behind the concentric seats, which hints that the cultists can be disposed of by sniping them from above. Eden's Convent is a location and an outpost mission in the Henbane River region of Hope County in Far Cry 5. It is a relatively lightly defended outpost with 8 defenders, including a cult VIP, an angel, and an animal. There is a mounted M60 machine gun on the roof of the pergola between the dormitory and the congregation hall. There are several vantage points around the facility with zip lines, offering excellent sniping spots and easy access to the convent. Once the convent is taken over by the local resistance, they will set up a general shop in front of the dormitory. You can also buy and summon helicopters. Joseph's Word is the location of Joseph Seed's giant statue in the Henbane River region of Hope County in Far Cry 5. The statue itself is hollow and consists of several levels where the cult stores various supply crates, safes, and on the top level, a copy of the book The Word of Joseph. The area is heavily decorated with bliss, flowers, and various cult symbols. The pilgrimage, a long trek that the devoted undertake around the Henbane River, ends at one of the stone fireplaces, followed by the ritualistic leap of faith that usually results in their death. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more content.